This podcast is kindly brought to you by M&J Zimbabwe, SEPA, Soft Smart, Red Circle HLO Solutions.
Hello and welcome again to your favorite podcast. We always come to you live every other week to give you important updates as far as the business environment is concerned, as well as other trending topics that we can talk about to inform you and help you plan for your business. And as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Jerry Monyasungu, the chartered vendor.
How was it, Mr. Steve?
I'm good. How are you feeling?
Fine.
Do you know that I was not feeling well yesterday and the day before yesterday?
What was the problem?
Flu. And to think I survived the actual winter season. And now we are in August and I get flu. And I'm wondering, is it really winter coming now? Because June confirmed it wasn't cold.
Very hot.
June was not.
June was like, it was just like April.
Yeah, but then July, August now it's getting. Are we experiencing a shift in the season?
Climate change. Things are changing.
Okay, that's interesting. And you know what else is changing? People's perceptions in the market. Because we are heading towards a national general election where we get to choose the presidential candidate to sustain the country for the next 5 years. And, you know, each time I go out to sell to some clients, they're telling me, you know what, relax, Steve, don't worry. Because, you know, I always follow up. Yeah. So they're like, no, relax, Steve, don't worry. This business, this one is yours, but we engage you after the election. Like, why? I might as well just do it now because we've agreed, the management has agreed, accounting has approved, they've got a budget for my services. So let's just do it now. They're like, no, let's just wait until after the elections. And now I'm thinking, what's there after the elections? Where people promise something that I'm not aware of? Because everyone seems to be saying after elections, you know, we'll then do business. What's up with after elections?
I think it's twofold. So some of the companies, when there's election, after election, when there's an event or when they think probably they've got, there's Christmas holiday, there's a certain event, they tend to procrastinate.
All right.
Probably a wait and see approach to say, if I spend now, what is going to happen after election? You see, sometimes elections in Africa, they are marred by violence. There are a lot of issues after elections. That's another. And what I really think is just an excuse.
It's an excuse.
It's just an excuse. Because why? If you notice, even during COVID-19, someone without a cent who never had $5 in their account before COVID-19, when you ask them for $5, they would say, because there's COVID-19, I don't have money. Just wait until COVID is... until when the lockdown is finished, I'll give you money. But soon after lockdown, no money is there.
They'll find another
So
excuse.
people, they've always find an excuse. So I strongly feel like it's an excuse or it's a mindset issue. Because things, they die in the mind. It's always in the mind. If you just treat the election day just like any other day, which doesn't even affect your company, which also probably you must also take advantage of the situation. And imagine someone who's in branding. This is the real time when people are campaigning.
To make some
I'm
money.
also thinking that even for my books, how can you also capitalize? Because I'm just thinking, probably when these guys are campaigning, probably Honorable Superman Wanzira in Yanga, probably Honorable Joanna Mamombe in Marbury, when they are campaigning, obviously they've got certain projects with the entrepreneurs. Then I can say, no, you can also buy
the books
so that your people can benefit just before an election. It's also a way of thinking which is different from there's an election, so I'll wait until after election to sell my books. So I've just changed it and say, which opportunity can I get during these elections? You get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. From the example that you've given, we can really say it's an issue of mentality, because the people are crying foul. But right now, you just gave me an example of how you could potentially make money from this election. But for a second, let's try and put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are doubtful, who are making these excuses about it being an election year and wanting to wait until after the 23rd of August. What could be the reason for their fears, for their insecurities?
When we're discussing on the streets, people are talking, people are sharing ideas. You know, it takes one person to put panic, to press a panic mode, and usually the biggest distributor of negative news, it's the newspapers, TVs, radio, and you're also a DJ. So the issue now is, when news is always telling us that there are elections, then things are going to be very tough. Obviously, when you put it in your mind, is things are going to be tough. If you watch CNN, if you watch Al Jazeera, if you're going to watch probably other TV stations in Zimbabwe, you might think that there's conspiracy happening. There are things which are happening which are not even fair in this world. Because, you know, when it comes to media, breaking news is always negative.
Absolutely.
So you never hear that the aeroplane which left Harare, it arrived in Bulawayo safely. But it's always about
the negative news,
the crash. Until when the black box is found, people will be talking about how people were screaming, what did they say, the last words they said. All is negative.
Absolutely.
And if someone dies, breaking news, negative. So imagine other news tablets are also spreading. Elections are there's going to be a contest in elections, there's going to be violence, so be careful, don't spend, otherwise the country is going to be closed after election for 1 or 2 weeks. So if you're going to spend right now, what is going to happen after election? You hear what is happening in people's minds. So the newspapers are distributing that. And right now the biggest newspaper is no longer the traditional the traditional media houses. It's not social media.
Yeah, social media is doing justice.
So just to go on Twitter, if you want to see, I think that's the should I call it the well, or probably the ocean of negativity?
That's the supply.
That's the supply
of negativity.
The wholesaler of negativity. So imagine someone who has been on Twitter and he was told that no, the election is going to be contested. No, I think there's going to be violence. I'm predicting that the situation is going to be. So when you get that, you consume that. When you're having a management meeting, instead of focusing on what is supposed to be done or focusing on executing duties, you are now focusing on what? You're not focusing on what you had, what the world is saying. What are they saying about the rates? What are they saying about inflation? Everything now is, you've heard that probably the situation which is there is temporary, whether this party is using this information in order for them to campaign. Imagine after consuming all all these negative news, what is going to happen to you? Obviously, I don't blame them. When you're not strong enough, when your mind is not already wired, or when your mind cannot avoid, or when your mind can, because it's a matter of consuming what you're consuming, and not let what you're consuming affect
what's inside of you.
You get what I mean? So that's the situation which is there.
And you know what I find most interesting now that we are discussing some of the reasons why some of these people are scared, I asked it the same question to a work colleague, and they were upright with me and said, you know what, I think most of the people who are crying foul, they are entrepreneurs. Most of them, they benefit from the government. So their fear is after the election, you know, the shufflement that happens with the cabinet and the ministers and everything else, Mfeswavo will be shifted to a different ministry or removed altogether. So those contracts that used to feed them will no longer come. The new person will also bring in their relatives and their other connections. So that's what he was saying, and saying, yeah, some of the people could be in fear of that. And then I also looked at some of the other reasons, and I now acknowledge that there are industries which rely heavily on policy. Like their functioning depends more on policy. So I think those industries, they tend to fear more when we get towards elections, because usually when the new presidium comes, they want to, you know, tweak some policies and try to put some things in order. You know, there are a lot of things that could happen in certain ministries, and that could potentially affect how other industries operate. Like, for example, let's look at organizations like Zimra. there's a lot that has been going on in terms of how they've been taxing their whatever they do, and to a point where there are actually more rebates that are being given to retired civil servants. And I'm sure that has got a bearing on how much revenue they can collect. So maybe in their case, we can say the election period could be, misty. They won't have a clear view of what could happen after. But for entrepreneurs like you and me, should we really be crying foul? Because most of the entrepreneurs that I know, in fact, what we really call entrepreneurs, they are bathed out of times of trouble. When things are upside down, that's when entrepreneurs step up to the target and, give a facelift to whatever is going on. So can real entrepreneurs, should they be crying foul because of the election?
I don't think so. Because why? When there's a problem, there's actually an opportunity, like what I was saying. So I think this is the right time to make money. This is the right time for real entrepreneurs to step up and be counted. So I just think that probably, yes, like what you also said on entrepreneurship, and what you're also saying right now to say probably, do we have real entrepreneurs? Because the problem is we don't have real entrepreneurs.
Tell me more about that.
The problem is most of the people, they are chances. And most of the people who are out there, they are just waiting for that deal. You see, I think in Shona they say it Madiri. So when you're a dealer now, when things like this happens, obviously you're affected because you're not an entrepreneur. And like what I also say, some of the people, they really want to be entrepreneurs. They're not just, they're doing real business. They're straightforward. They're doing real business. But sometimes, like what I said, whatever you consume, it's got a negative bearing towards what how you view things. Like right now, if probably in Zambia, if you say Zambian economy is stable, I just believe it's a mindset. Because there's nothing which has really changed from when President Edgar Lungu was there and from when President Hichilema. I think the policy, there was just a policy shift. The other one was working with China. The other one is just working with the United States of America. That's the only change. And people are flocking into Zambia. But in the same economy which was being run by President Edgar Lungu, but there's just a perception. So I think it's a matter of us, just a perception, negative perception. There are real entrepreneurs who are affected by what is being said. The power of information. If you notice, even United States of America, they control the world because of information.
Information, absolutely.
The powerful, I'm not saying United States of America only. Any powerful country which is out there, look at Russia, look at, they all want to control media. China, everyone wants to control media. So whoever has got control over media is the one who's going to spell his own narrative towards any event. Because any event which happens, even today, if you're going to witness an accident, 5 people witnessing same accident, we have 5 versions of that accident.
True.
You see, so that's the world we are living in. But I'm saying to the real entrepreneurs, it's the time to reflect. With COVID, which was I think almost 2 years.
Yeah, it lasted.
Of COVID-19, but we managed to survive in those tough periods. So, what's an election?
An election is just one day.
It's one day. At one point, with 21 days lockdown, with guns on our streets, but we survived. So what's an election day? So that's how you're supposed to be wired as an entrepreneur and say, no, we need to face the demons. Whatever is going to happen on the 23rd, how can I take advantage of these policies which are also going to be put? So your business must be able to survive whether what you are gunning for or what you are not gunning for is going to, because at the end of the day, we're not politicians. We're just business people. Absolutely. And when you're a real business person, you don't have to wait for a certain person to be in power for you to be in business. So you really need to be swimming, whether there is the current government, whether there is opposition which is now governing.
It must.
It doesn't change how you'll be doing business, because otherwise, in our problems which we have, whether after the elections there are going to be problems, those problems for an entrepreneur, they are opportunities. That's your time to actually shine. That's your time to make more money. So I think worldwide, people are making money because there are problems. There are people who are making money because of the Russian war. There are people also making money because of the Russian-Ukraine war. But there are people who are also crying.
Absolutely.
So it just depends on which side you want to take and how do you want to view things. Yeah. So if you still remember 2008, there was a fuel shortage. Things were tight. There was a vendor, I was in the streets. Things were tight. But some people bought houses
during that time.
So in each and every when we're facing each and every difficult moment of this economy, there is a guy who is actually benefiting from your struggle. If these rates are stable like right now, there's a guy who is suffering. And there's also a guy who is benefiting from this situation. When the rate starts to cause havoc, there's a guy who is also benefiting and there's a guy who is also suffering. So there are always two coins of one, where what you can call a problem is an opportunity to another guy.
Okay, I like your mentality and the fact that you see things a bit differently from how everybody else would see them. So what we're going to do is we want to go on a very short break, and then when we come back, we now condition our entrepreneurs to say, how do they find stability? How do they keep themselves going on in the face of all the negativity? Because I'm opening my Twitter trying to check out what my clients have been saying or the trends, and I'm seeing negativity. I'm opening Facebook, it's the same stories over and over. WhatsApp these days is even worse because we now have newspapers and media outlets that distribute news on WhatsApp platforms. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about, and do stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe and like and share the video with your friends and family. But for now, stay tuned.
Hello, my human resources partners. I understand it's the time of the month again where you get to deal with a lot of paperwork. And if it's a typical Zimbabwean economy, talk about dual currency whilst running your payroll. But that is just about to end. Why? Because we have customized the Odoo ERP system payroll for the Zimbabwean market especially. What are we talking about? We're talking about a payroll system that allows you to manage your employees' time off, track your attendances, as well as plan their shift, and also being able to validate them in a period of time that you'd want. After that, you also get to have the statutory reports as you'd want them, talk about the NASA, the Zimmer reports as you'd want them, and even print out to the payroll summary in batches or individually as you would want them. So why not get in touch with us? Book a demo, customize the demo for you, as well as the payroll system for you. Who are we? We are SEPA Africa, dedicated to making business easy.
Hello and welcome back to your favorite podcast. We were talking about the current panic that is in the market, where people are saying, let's do business after the elections, like a lot of anticipated instability in the economy after the elections, and people want to see how that's going to play out. So before we went for the break, the chartered vendor was supposed to then help us condition our entrepreneurs for the positive mindset that they need, because he bears a very positive mind, seeing a lot of opportunities on this election period where people seem to be crying foul. He's seeing a lot of opportunities. So yeah, we want to get inside his head and maybe see how he functions. Okay. So let us know, how can our entrepreneurs sustain positivity, especially given that most of the content they consume from different platforms is filled with negativity. How can they sustain positivity?
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So I don't want to say we don't have difficulties during this election period. The difficulties are there, but it's how we are going to perceive those difficulties. Okay. For example, imagine just I think 4 or 5 weeks ago, with probably our rates, they shot to about around 12,000.
Yeah, they went
per dollar.
Up, yeah.
Yes, $1 dollar is to Zimbabwean dollars, it was around 1 to 12,000. But just imagine, all of a sudden, the rate is not at 5.8. So there's a guy who actually got $1 million in RTGS, and he bought what? US dollar, in that amount of 12,000, because people were afraid that the rate is going to continue going up. Yeah. But they didn't do. They bought it at what? 12,000. But this same guy now is forced probably to sell that same amount of money at 5,000.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
It's a huge loss.
So it's a huge loss. There are difficulties. Obviously, you are also in economy. Some of the people who are also negative are your clients.
Absolutely.
Just like you. They
They're
said
the
you're
most
also in the
notorious.
same situation.
Yeah.
They are your clients who are also negative, and who can stand with whatever decision they have made in their board to say, we can only engage you after elections. So, when you're in this kind of environment, things are tough. They're no longer ordinary. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to also adjust according to how the economy is performing. If we're sleeping for 8 hours, there's no way you can going to sleep for 8 hours, because the bills, the rentals are never going to be reduced because we've won an election month.
No, they don't.
Salaries, they have to be paid. All the fixed costs, they have to be paid. So it simply means that for you to be in business, for you to pay whatever dues you're supposed to pay, you need to work very hard. So you need to adjust. For example, I was talking to my sales people. If you're calling 50 clients, probably in the last 7 months of the year, this month you have to call what? 150. Because you're going to have 100 people are rejecting, citing elections. So that's the time to beast it out and make sure that you are actually, there's supposed to be massive action. A lot of action. You're supposed to be working extra hard. If you're finishing work probably at 5 p.m., this time you're supposed to be finishing at 8 p.m. I just want to give you an example. I think I wrote about it in the Chartered Vendor. During COVID-19, things were very tough, especially the first 21 days. But we chose to say, no, guys, things are tough. But end of the month, at least if we can pay our rentals, at least if we can get food, we cannot think about getting full salaries right now. But what did we do? We went all out. Every morning we're having a meeting. Every morning every evening we're also having review meetings, discussing about our businesses, opportunities which are there. I tell you, we managed to sell through. And much of our growth, we had much of our growth during COVID-19, especially at the height of COVID-19. Because why? Most of our competitors are sleeping. Like right now, I tell you, most of your competitors are sleeping. Whilst they are sleeping, run as much as you can. By the time they'll wake up in September, you would have taken over.
Gone, yeah.
So even when you're not going to make your money in August, be prepared to make money in September. Because making money, especially when you're in software business, when you're into B2B business, it's not an event. It's a process.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you can engage a client in July, that client can end up paying in October. So what you just need is to increase the activity. Just be crazy. That's the what you're supposed to do, number one. Number two, make sure that everyone in the company knows that we are now in a crisis. Everyone, up to the receptionist, the chef, the cleaner, the security guard, they must know that
it's now a crisis.
Right now, it's not a crisis. When you've got a client right now, when someone is promised to pay at 3 p.m., you cannot afford to go there at 3:15 because someone would have told them that, no, please pay after election. So everyone is supposed to be wired, and they are now thinking in terms of, we need to grab whichever opportunity which is coming. So, sometimes, yes, as an owner of the company, I'm going to say probably as a director or as the manager, yes, you might know that there's an election and the effects of election. But you must also tell your employees that, no, guys, if we don't work hard during this time, we might end up August, yes, you're going for the elections, but 7 days after the elections, there's no salary to talk about because there's nothing. So if everyone knows that, everyone needs to buckle up, knowing that we are now getting into a situation which is not ordinary. Let everyone in your company knows.
Absolutely.
Number three, when you know sales, like I was asking my team, I also had a lot of comments in my CRM whereby people are saying, are procrastinating. Someone wanted a software. Now, is now saying, I now need it after election. What changed? You wanted it now, but suddenly it just changed.
You now want it after election.
But when you don't know sales now, you don't ask, why after election? Because you have to know the reason. Because sometimes it's just being used as a scapegoat. Remember, people can tell you that they need to ask their wives, but they never want to ask their wives. They're just using it as a way
to evade
because they don't want to commit. Naturally, people, they avoid committing into a cell. So when they have a simpler reason of getting out of that cell, they can easily do that. So probably elections are being used as a scapegoat only. So when you know cells now, you know questions to ask, you know also how to dollarization. For example, like you're saying, one of your client, the budget was authorized, everything is already there. You're good to go, but you're now being told that you are going to do that after election.
After elections, yeah.
You need to remind this customer that probably the next 23 days, you would have lost 10,000 years. So are you willing to lose 10,000 because you're saving $2,000 which you're supposed to be giving me? I'm the guy who is going to save you money. Please bring the 2,000 so that you can save the 10,000.
Yeah, that's smart.
You see, so you need to also know you need to have your arsenal. The sales skills are very important during this period which we are in, and people can survive. But like what I said, it's the time to also read books. It's the time to also reflect, get as much positive news as you can. Twitter is going to tell you about politics, how the countries are burning. In the other side, LinkedIn will be telling you about how you're supposed to be. Because I think LinkedIn is more, it's a political party which represents employees. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, LinkedIn, yeah, I've noticed.
LinkedIn is when people are running away from a company, they're running away from a bad boss, whatever. It's more like a political party representing employees.
Universal union.
Yeah, so it's a social media platform for it's a union for
employees.
For employees, yeah. So you need to choose carefully. Do you want to be on a union? Do you want to be on an Instagram whereby almost every lady on the Instagram is using filters and stuff like that? So you need to choose carefully. Where do you want to be, especially social media, what you're consuming, the news which you're consuming has to be positive. When you're in this time and you're spending your whole day, like I think next week, EPL is coming back. Then an entrepreneur is complaining that it's not election time. My sales have reduced by almost 75%. He's watching soccer from 12 p.m. up to 10 p.m. Then he complains that the economy is tough. So we have to react according to the situation.
He's even betting some of the money from his business.
His business.
Oh yeah, I like that. Thank you so much for sharing those sentiments. And you know, as you were speaking, I managed to pick up something that fascinated me in terms of maintaining a positive stature. In as much as you're getting rejections, people saying, you know, election time and whatnot, if you continue calling them, what it means is you have a lot of follow-ups to do after the election period. And you even have a reason for them to even buy and tell them, you said let's wait for the election. It's now after election. Now come and buy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's also something that people can also take on and make sure that those people who are giving you those rejections, citing elections as the reason, you just need to shelve them on the follow-ups and then wait until election time, and then you hit up and probably you close the sale.
That's true.
So, and also maybe lastly, as we wrap up the conversation, there are certain issues that are affecting entrepreneurs that have nothing to do with elections per se. Some of which I experience them on a daily basis, because how my team works is I've got an internal team, very small team, and then I get more people as per project and as per need. So yesterday when I was not around, I didn't come to work. I was actually homesick. I didn't come to work. So, and I was so numb in bed, I didn't even get a chance to use my phone. Everything was on standby, because I basically had the tasks for that particular day, because we were dealing with a new account. So everything was on hold. And I thought to myself, how many other entrepreneurs are in my situation whereby if they just turn their back on the business, everything grinds to a stop? What can we do to ensure the continuity or attending to other things and not necessarily be called every 10 minutes, someone asking for what to do? What exactly can we do as entrepreneurs?
I think, thank you so much. I think what's supposed to be done is you need to build systems.
Okay.
Because people, they are supposed to, I don't want to, yes, I want to be in control, I want to be monitoring activities, but I don't want to be fully responsible of those activities. Okay. So like, for example, in your team, at least probably you know your team, your operations team. You know, when you're in a company with an accountant, you know, you're in a company with an HR, they should know what they're supposed to be doing on daily basis. So in other words, they should know, yes, we now have a new project. They should know how to plan that project without you and probably give you what they'd already planned.
Okay.
So at least when you're not around, they know that, they know what to do. Because you can not only plan about, you can not only start experimenting whilst you're no longer there. Sometimes it's good to experiment whilst you're in the office and see if these guys, when they're not there, do they know what is supposed to be done?
Okay.
Can they go to a meeting and close a deal? And can the operations guy also be able to service the customer without your involvement? That is very, very crucial. So when you're at that stage now, it's very what? It's easy because you're building a system which can run without you. Imagine you've got your Zed, you've got your Mark Fowler, the owners of Chicken Inn. Have you ever seen them in Chicken Inn and Burger Inn? Because why? They've built a system which can work without them, which can work without even their senior management, which can work without even their executives, but they can save you same product, same quality, at same price and same timelines. Why? Because they've invested in a system which was tested. And the other problem is, as entrepreneurs, we don't want to make mistakes. So we believe that we are the best. Hence, when there's a meeting, you are supposed to be the one going to that meeting. So when you do that now, when you're not there, who is going to step up? Because these people are used to you
Me being there and doing it for them, yeah.
So the issue now is, let them. It's just like when you've got a kid, you've got a young kid. Congratulations. So when you've got a young kid, when they now want to walk or crawl, what are you going to do? Because probably when they start to crawl, sometimes they're going to touch fire, they're going to touch electricity, they're going to fall. When they fall, they're making mistakes, but those mistakes are going to make them graduate into walking. So, as most of the entrepreneurs also, I notice, they are perfectionists. They don't want to let it go. They believe that they can do that better than anyone else. So let your team make as many mistakes whilst you are there, and you correct them. And when they make mistakes, that's the only way people can learn. People learn through mistakes. People, they cannot, because if you notice a kid is not even perfect, you are also not perfect. So we need to make them to make them see where they are making mistakes, teach them. I know it's very tough to give responsibility to people, but let us learn to start trusting our people. When you don't trust them, it simply means you're working with the wrong team.
Absolutely. That's interesting. Such powerful words. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for watching up until the very end. We always love your interactions in the comment section. Please do come through in the comment sections and just leave a comment, and perhaps you could stand a chance to win any one of the books that are in front of us. And do remember to subscribe, share, and like the video, and share it to as many people as you can so that they can also consume this content. Otherwise, from me to you, it's a goodbye. We'll see you on the next one.